All right. Hello. Hope you all can hear me. And close this door. This is a very yellow colored room. This is my aunt's study. She's got books. She's got shoes, obviously. A clock that isn't a clock anymore, and besides, it was designed never to be a clock in the first place. A lot of cool stuff in my environment right now. And I wanted to let people that I love, people that actually care about me, that have been contacting me this whole time, past couple weeks, I've gotten some contact from the people that I know actually care. And it's not the people that I thought, oddly enough. And I know that the people are, glad that I'm okay. And the people that I would have thought of are still glad that I'm okay. Okay, so here's the update for people that don't know me at all. My name's Derek. I usually go by Derek. I have a nickname, which is Skiddo. It's online. It's a nickname. On Facebook, people call me DC. People call me Skiddo. People call me Neptunade. That's another one. So I'm in the mental health system for basically what they have diagnosed me with is schizophrenia. Still working on getting a more accurate diagnosis, but there's basically stacks of paper saying that during stressful situations I shut down and I cannot function whatsoever. So that precludes me from being, working at all. I actually had to prepare a lot for this stream right now, because if I get to the point of the meat and potatoes of this stream without notes, I'll be lost. So just get right into it, I guess. Don't have anybody in the chat yet. So So the situation is this. I was stable on Social Security disability, having services. I was living with a friend of mine. It's a friend of a previous girlfriend of mine, whom he's pretty, he's all right himself, not very emotionally in tune with himself. He's very emotionally in tune with himself. He just doesn't know what to do with it, and isn't seeking any, ways of resolving that so that he can be, and in harmony with his environment, because he lives in a large complex of apartments that is, he's just got a lot of neighbors, and he doesn't talk to any of them. He hasn't met any of them, having lived there for 4 or 5 years now, of which I lived with him for 1.5 years. So he's been there for 5.5 years now. So I was stable. I was working out, had a daily routine. My previous updates have shown that. My daily routine was get up, work out, play guitar, do some chainmail, have some self-authoring mental health homework that I bought myself. I paid $18 so that I could have some homework, something to do where I could improve my mental health and not have to go to the therapist as much, because I have disability, but that pays for my doctor visits, but I only see a therapist regularly. And that helps tremendously, just to have someone to listen to me. Let's stay on the notes here, the notes that I've written. So yeah, I had my physical workout. I had my mental workout, which is guitar. My small, motor functions workout, which is guitar and chainmail. Then my more mental health progress kind of thing, which is self-authoring, by the way, selfauthoring.com, something developed by Jordan Peterson, a psychologist from Canada, where you write down your past experiences. It's like It's an autobiography. And then your current experience, and which is to line out your faults and your so your good and your bad, so your faults and your virtues, and then your future, and then you line out your future, what you want it to be, your dreams and stuff, and you actually write it down. Started out as a losing it here, but it's his thing that he did. Started out as a what's the word, assignment for his fourth year psychology students, because he's a professor of psychology at some Canadian school. But it's helped me out a lot just to be able to write out my own experiences and write out my faults. That was my routine that I had for quite a few months there. I had been finally getting settled. My room was a mess, still a mess after everything that's happened in the past couple of years. I like to have a nice, well-set room like this one, which is fairly nice for my aunt. That she has that, she's an Aquarius like me. She was born in the same month. A lot of my good friends are Aquarians. A lot of my good friends aren't. But that our organization that's very key to mental health, I found, is that, your personal environment helps inform your internal environment, the environment within. Your organization without, like as within, so without, as above, so below. And as above, if you think of your brain as being above your heart, which is your electrical impulses being above what, directs and shapes those electrical impulses, which is above your stomach, which is processing your physical stuff you eat. So as above, so below applies to within, so without. So you have the electrical impulses that actually guide, like my hands, that are without me. I'm kind of helping myself get into this stream thing while I'm talking it out. I'm also talking with my hands, and as I'm, doing that, I'm coming from within to without to actually follow my goddamn notes, which I can't actually seem to stay with right now. But basically, I'm just saying I was grateful that I had a stable situation and that I had a friend who took me in when I otherwise would have been homeless without an affordable rent situation. I don't get very much. My whole life right now is working on reclaiming my own stability so that I can get back to doing what I am meant to do. I'll get into that in a different video. That's a topic I won't even touch right now. That's a big topic. Basically, it has to do with all these activities that I just lined out. And, I would do guitar, I would do a physical workout, I would do a chainmail, which is, linking stuff ring by ring, making chainmail armor and chainmail jewelry, which is something my friend Roken got me into. Mental health, and then I would learn languages, and then I would go socialize with my neighbors, basically. The neighbors that my roommate would not see. I met 10 of them in like a month. 4 different apartments, 4 or 5. And, different levels of engagement with them. I'm not a very social person, but I like being sociable. I like meeting people because I care about humankind. That means that I care about individuals. And it starts with, myself, but once I can grow out of myself, then I can meet other people. But a few weeks ago, just before July started, I met a friend of a friend through the people that I was meeting, my neighbors, who saw my situation at the time and encouraged me not to be complacent regarding stuff that my roommates were subjecting me to, basically. They were subjecting me to just some social pressures and some nonverbal stuff that was an iteration of the same pattern that I do, which is be very much of a hermit, but is also some passive aggressive stuff that no matter what they said, my roommates, their verbal and physical cues and non-physical cues, their being absent for hours on end, was telling me something opposite of what they would say to me. So I got him, my first roommate that I've already described to you, the friend of my previous girlfriend. I got him more confident about himself a little bit. I'm just stretching my arms here and sitting here long enough talking that I need to get blood circulation going. I got my roommate confident enough with himself, because he wasn't very self-confident. He was very self-deprecating and actually believed it. Seemed like he believed it. So he got fascinated with me, the fact that I can go from room to room, so to speak. I can go from not socializing to going out to downtown and socializing with a whole bunch of different groups of people, different levels of being sociable. And he found that interesting, because he's able to either be home or working. And he works at a Walmart, so that means a lot of people. And he's basically ignoring all of them so that he can work, except for his coworkers. And he's, even the coworkers, it's like very socially detached. And there's a good thing about detachment, but that degree is just extreme. So I was teaching him moderation a little bit, and also being a little more kind to himself and being a little more forgiving in his determinations about his own self-definition of who he is. He thought he was ugly. He thought he was totally unattractive to the opposite sex. And I was telling him, dude, you're actually getting an interest from people. And if you focus on your strengths and focus on shoring up your weaknesses, being honest about them, but actually improving them over time, you can get a girlfriend. But yeah, he took that and he ran. Like, he jumped in with both feet and got a girlfriend who is, after 11 years of not being attached, this man got a girlfriend. And he's basically in a common law marriage now with a woman that is 8 years older than him, that has 3 children. It's great, but that's a large commitment to undertake for someone who already has 40 hours a week and has been living alone for the past 4 years. That's a big change. And there were certain instances where he couldn't take it. He got overwhelmed, overstimulated, like I get, like I still currently am and coping with, like at this very moment. The fact that I've got all this stuff going on, I'm staring at my text. I'm not actually staring at myself in the camera. It's hard to be this borderline autistic thing that I am. And I see that in him. That's why I was able to get along with him for the past year and a half in our apartment, because we like the same things. We like to have similar patterns. But he brought her in, and she brought her 8-year-old daughter, or 7-year-old daughter. She just turned 7, actually. And she's charming. She's intelligent. She's kind, caring. But she also had a bad situation with her this guy's girlfriend's daughter's father. So basically, her mother's, her father, her biological father, is an asshole, raging drunk and all this stuff. Typical toxic male that can't deal with his emotions, pushes him down, drinks over it. Of which, yeah, so she brought her daughter in, and their method of raising her, I didn't really understand, which is very much treating her a lot like an irritation, like a lesser person, like someone who is being trained to do something that they don't want to do. Because the kid is more intelligent than her parents by far. I've interacted with her well enough to know that she was actively teaching her parents stuff. And okay, so it's not all bad. It's that they had some weaknesses in their approach. And they told me that they wanted help, but they didn't actually ask for it ever. And when the few times, and I say never because even when they would ask for help, they wouldn't follow through with any of the advice that I would give them. Now, I raised, well, for a couple of years, let's see, I didn't really raise my little brother, but I helped my mom with her pregnancy because my dad was full-time. When my little brother was pregnant, I was 10 years old, 9, 10. And then when he came out, I ended up watching him a lot of the time. After school, I would come and watch my little brother. When he was like 3 years old, I started watching him, and I was 12. For many years, I did that, and I kind of have a bit of that parental thing in me where I'm protective, but I'm also not going to take any BS from a kid who thinks that they can pull one over on me. My little brother very much tried to pull one over on me frequently. Didn't respect me. Still doesn't. That's another topic entirely, but I do know what's right when it comes to raising a child. They need a certain level of stimulation at certain ages. And at certain ages, you got to give them a example, and the parents are an example of how to act, but so are their friends. And if they feel isolated, if they feel bored a lot of the time, they're going to be resentful towards their parents for that later on in life. And I saw that with her. They were treating her almost like a pet. They weren't treating her like a human being. Well, my first roommate was treating her like a pet. My second roommate was treating her like her own daughter was a lesser. Well, she didn't even have enough time to deal with the kid. I don't know what she was treating her like because she didn't even have enough time for her. Like I said, the kid's more intelligent than the parents. And yet, she just has no life experience yet to know any better, really. There's a whole psychosis there I won't even continue to describe. But I offered to watch her sometimes, to babysit her sometimes. They said they would compensate me for that, and they would let me know. They only asked me to do that once in 5 months. That's weeks and weeks. So, you know what they did? They left her in the apartment alone for hours on end, day in and day out. After school was over, her mother's boyfriend, my roommate, would pick her up from school, bring her home, make her lunch, and leave. Go back to work and leave her alone for 5, 6 hours sometimes. Usually 4 hours until the mother got home. And when it was a weekend, she had to be home. Parents were working, but there was no school. So she was there for upwards of 12 hours alone at home. Not allowed to watch TV. Barely had any books to deal with. Couldn't be on the tablet for a while because she got grounded off of it. And was also not allowed to go outside to the park area across the way from our apartment to play with kids her own age. Wasn't allowed to out of the apartment whatsoever. And so even on a weekend, it was like they were trying to teach her how to deal with being alone, forcing something that wasn't inherent in her personality. They weren't letting her be herself. And I didn't like it, but I dealt with it. The little bit of interaction that I had with her, she was trying to reach out for a friend when she was alone like that, and she would try and, spend some time with me. It was cool, but I had life. I had to do stuff. If her parents had asked me to watch her, I would have. I would have put some things on hold, but if they were going to pay me to be a babysitter, then that's fine. I would do so. They never asked me to, though. It's like one time that they asked me to, I did a great job at it. And I feel like it's this paranoia. They were afraid that I was some sort of typical man, like I was going to take advantage or do something bad to the kid. And it's just, no. No. I pretty much am a little girl in my head. You know, I've been treated like a very effeminate male my whole life. And I kind of am androgynous, you know, in a lot of ways. But I am male, and I don't have any weirdness about that. And I have stacks of paper that I mentioned earlier that document the fact that I don't have any other predilections. I just have this thing where when I get stressed, I can't speak. That's all it is. I get stressed and I can't speak and I can't make right decisions. Actually, I can make better decisions when I'm stressed than when I'm not stressed. It's odd. But I just can't tell them to anybody. I have trouble even typing them into a phone, for Christ's sake. It's a weird couple of months. 4 months, 5 months with that kid in there. Knowing she was alone. Knowing she probably wasn't even feeding herself. Because she would eat cereal. It was all she was given to have. I naturally would like to stay in my room as a kid when I was her age, 6 and 7 years old. But I had toys. I had my own room, for Christ's sakes. Those three lived in the same room together, the mom, the dad, and the kid. The kid didn't have enough space for herself. She didn't have toys that she would really obsess about and play at. You know, I had toys, I had a room with my stuff the way I wanted it. I had a computer that I could play with and work on. And then if I wanted to come out of my room, I had a backyard and a neighborhood that I could go to, even when I was out of school, and even when mom and dad weren't home, I could go out and play with my friends. And it's like these people didn't realize that Central Oregon, where we live, has a very low crime level. And it's in a supervised apartment complex environment. If she had gone outside on her own, walked down the stairs, and went to the play area, she would have been safe. And parents were so paranoid. This is where conservatism gets extreme. And repeatedly traumatized these people, or her parents. They just didn't trust any of it. And in fact, the weird part of it is that the girl's biological father was impinging on a restraining order between him and the mother. And he was like pushing it. He lived right up to that borderline that they had set in that paperwork and lived inside the apartment complex. Law couldn't do much about it. But still, the guy had to work. He was at work daily. If the child had gone out and been able to play, come home and the parents had set up a chaperone, and if they had known any of their neighbors, for instance, there was retired old ladies that lived there that could watch her while she was playing, and the other kids. And in fact, I believe I've seen one that did frequently. And to be able to walk her back to her apartment and let her inside, make sure that she was fed, and then leave. Like I did a few times. Chaperoned her, watched her, took her back home, made sure she had eaten good food, nutrition, not cereal. And then I would go back on my way. No, none of that was set up. They didn't feel like they had any time to prepare any of it. And when they would get home, it was like, oh, gonna shut off and watch TV and go to bed. They didn't want to take the extra effort to actually set it up so their kid could have a life. The kid could have a childhood that they could be proud of. Yeah, they'd go to school events and they'd take a little time off here and there, but the rest of it is just totally lacking. And they said they cared. They expressed they cared. I offered them help. I gave them the little jabbing comments saying the kid needs to socialize. The kid needs to eat healthy food. You need to eat healthy food. Even though they knew it, didn't fucking act on it. So, I ended up meeting a friend of one of my neighbors who she needed help with something else, and this is where we get into the second part of this stream, which is what's going on with Derek. I'm going to comment something at this point to say that there's chapter 2. So that I have a little bit of a timestamp so I can edit this later. Wow, if you've been watching this for 30 minutes and I haven't even gotten to me yet, congratulations. You actually care. A lot, actually. I wouldn't be watching this for 25 minutes and listening to me ramble. It's not what I'd be watching this video for. I let someone into my life that challenged me not to be complacent about that whole situation. And I ended up suddenly moving. Just that day, as soon as I met her. Feel like that's overkill. No notice. I'm supposed to have 3 days notice at least if I'm going to move. None. I relinquished my deposit. Didn't give them any notice. These good friends of mine, even though their situation was slowly improving, she was like, not enough. Peer pressured me into moving out. And stressed me out extremely to the point where I just did what she said. And this is a problem. Okay, this is a problem I have. My psychosis here. I did what she said because I trusted her, I cared about her, cared for her. She cared about me, or appeared to. She really just cared more about the kid than about me in that sense. Didn't care about my life. Uprooted me, basically. In pointing out my complacency and dealing with that situation. She made me feel bad enough about myself that I was just like, fuck me. Fuck it up. I'll just change it. I'll change everything about my life right now just because you're making me feel bad about myself. Rather than find a more clever joint solution between all the parties involved. No. She just stopped, uproot and moved, Derek. I don't have time for you. She didn't have enough time for me to actually care about me either. So this is another social problem that I'm noticing. This is a tendency that people have to be overwhelmed and not put enough time in to actually find the right solution. And by the way, coincidentally, the same day, my best friend Jesse finally got to Oregon after a 4-day drive from Virginia. And I'd been waiting for him to get here, him and his girlfriend. That day, end result, I unexpectedly move in with a stranger, move all my stuff out in a fucking hour, and her being impatient, telling me you need to get it out faster. I need to get back so I can deal with my situation, which I had yet to do. I ended up moving her later that day to a friend of mine. I didn't get to see my best friend or socialize with him very much at all. Moved in with a stranger. And then that rest of that week, she ended up being very verbally volatile and abusive towards me. Intermittently complimentary and then negative, worse than my most recent girlfriend who I had just described to you. Sean and Amber know who I'm talking about. Verbally very bipolar. And it's like, pick an opinion. Either I'm horrible or I'm awesome. Or there's somewhere in the middle. It's shades of gray. It's not black-white. No, it's gray. There's a middle range that you need to figure out. Because apparently it's not. Okay, I'm going to stop there about that. But so, yeah, I lived with a stranger for a week. And she turned the friend that I moved her in with against me. And made a whole bunch of crazy assumptions about me and my demeanor that are patently untrue and observed over a 3-month period by the establishment, I have that stack of paperwork that proves she's wrong. Okay? Making assumptions based on a pattern of behavior that she had observed in others that do not share my upbringing, my environment, or my internal structures of mind. Okay? Just because a man is forceful does not mean that he's an asshole. Although usually that's what it means. Pattern matching does not always work. If you match a pattern with pattern, it's not necessarily a duck. If it looks like a duck and walks like a duck and quacks like a duck. It could be some mutation of a duck that acts more like a cat than anything else. That's really summing it up. I'm summing up lots of humongous topics here in a short amount of time. So she was acting as though there was something was wrong and something was wrong with me, and then also encouraging me to lie and act and fake with people. She's a dominatrix. She likes to be called that. She's out of 3 marriages, 1 child. Okay? Her face can be beautiful or it can be ugly, and she uses that to her advantage. She shapeshifts her face to manipulate people, to get the reaction she wants out of people. Everybody does this to some degree, whether conscious or not. But she was conscious of it. Did it on purpose. Did it to me the first day I met her. That's why this all happened to me. Thank you for listening to this much. It's 30 minutes now. It was 25 before when I said it was 30, by the way. I hope you can hear all my words, because if you can't, then some of this won't make any sense. But she turned my friend that I introduced her to and moved her in with that week against me by making incorrect assumptions of my behavior, not asking my opinion, and when I would defend myself, she would end up saying, you, like I'm saying exactly that, you, as if I was being selfish. I'm simply answering her claims about my behavior. She didn't want to hear it. She had already been set in her mind that pattern, that thing she was seeing, was exactly what she thought it was, because she's got 260 IQ. She's been treated and diagnosed, and she's been already tested that she's got 260 IQ, and she's Asperger's disease and all that stuff. Okay? Doesn't give you the right to assume that you're right. She's not treating it like a scientist. She's treating it like a triage nurse. And so it was weird, because it showed me some of the darkness within myself that I need to cope with and figure out, because I am weak against peer pressure, and I am weak in adequately confronting abuse and neglect. As well as I'm silent against certain atrocities, which you just heard. And I feel like that's something that everybody has somewhat of in this society here in the United States. Silent against the small atrocities until the big ones happen. Okay. So then after that, after moving out of that place, glad to do it. I even flipped her off on the way out. Don't regret it, because I did it with my left hand. It means that I'm learning. Literally, symbolically, in things that, new age stuff about hands. This is the guiding one, the wisdom. This is the teacher. This is the student, the energy, and the doing new things. New things. Energy, teacher, or learner, teacher. And then wisdom, the grounding. So I did this to her. And She took it very badly and blah, 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 blah. And then I had to re-explain it to her, and she forgave it. She forgave me for it later. Well, she didn't actually forgive it for me. She said, okay, as if I was still lying to her. This is someone that has a 260 IQ. Okay? She's not using that 260 all the time. Not even. It may sound like me being bitter and angry, but if she's seeing this right now, then certain stuff's true, certain stuff ain't. Okay? You can prove me wrong. I won't get angry if you prove me wrong. But if you accuse me of being wrong and do not prove it to me, I'm probably going to get angry. Because you're making accusations, and I don't see your logic. That means you're stirring up bullshit where bullshit didn't need to be. Making accusations, telling lies, whether you know it or not. And I can't stand for that, and I get angry at that. Who wouldn't? I ask you, help me out here. I'm trying my best. Don't cut me down as if I'm not when I am. Please. Don't you push away someone who just saved your ass, moved you to a friend of mine, and then you turn me against it, both yourself and that friend. I'm afraid for the friend that she moved in with now because of her behavior. Okay. At this point, if I was female, I would be crying like a baby right now, but I'm too dead inside right now to feel it. Tears are coming up, but they are not coming out. So, after all that happened, then spent 2 days, I'm reading my notes here, I'm reading my notes wrong. So after that week that I spent with them, I spent 2 days with my uncle and aunt, who is my dad's brother and his wife. I went to their wedding and everything, played guitar at their wedding, and they think the world of me and stuff. But at the end of the second day, I invited that best friend over, who I previously mentioned, because they're homeless right now. They just got into Oregon, and they don't have enough money to pay rent at a place, or don't even have a job and stuff like that. They're just getting away from a bad situation in Virginia. Ghetto, basically. And it was good enough, them visiting. It was kind of cool. Smoked weed, hung out. It's Oregon. Smoke weed. It's legal. It's legal. And it was a good visit. But something was off kilter, and it was probably his girlfriend feeling awkward and uncomfortable, and they had probably had a bad situation they hadn't really fully told me about yet. And even though they were welcomed in, she wouldn't even sit on their couch or at all get comfortable at all. It was throwing me off, throwing my uncle and aunt off. And they went to bed, my uncle and aunt, but I stayed up to be a good host, and I was being a good host. I just wonder what's going on with them too. My friends, that is. I worry about everybody, but right now I'm worried about them because they're still homeless. But that night I overstretched myself, and in getting stoned with them, I took a stoner nap after they had left. And I woke up in the middle of the night, tried to multitask a little bit, and cleaned a pan that they had dirtied because I kind of rushed them out before they could clean their own mess. I let them hang out with my aunt and uncle because they wanted to cook something. And I let them use their stove. They let them use their stove. And the pan was still there, dirty. And I decided to clean it in the middle of the night, 2 a.m. And I multitasked, overdid it. I stretched myself thin yet again. And because of my ditzy nature, I ended up going and being on the phone for a couple hours. And 30 minutes, actually, I think. It was quite a while. It felt like a couple hours, but it was probably just 30 minutes. The water boiled, baking soda in it, and set off the smoke alarm. And my uncle. My uncle came. What the hell? Came out of the room. What the hell just happened? There was smoke filled the front living room. He was terrified that I was burning his house down. It was just smoke. As soon as the smoke alarm went off, I jumped up, went out of the bedroom that they had allowed me to have for a while, ran, took the pan off the heat, put the pan in the front yard to keep it from smoking, opened up the door, opened up the windows, turned on the fan, cleared the smoke out. Okay, situation neutralized within 30 seconds. Uncle was not resolved. He was still angry, remained angry the next day. Did not forgive me either. He, again, assumed something from my behavior that was untrue. Assumed me to be immature, and as if I had done it on purpose. Probably watched too many horror movies, watching too much TV. Typical American. Also typical male. Pushed down his emotions about me, so when an extreme situation happened, I hear the truth about what he thinks about me. Okay. Made a mistake. Fixed it. Okay. Woke him up in the middle of the night. But I fixed it. Maybe it did. But I don't repeat mistakes. So, in his primal anger, he expressed interest in releasing his anger. He said, I'll punch you in the face. So I was like, sure. If you feel that way, do it. I'll even stand up so you can. And something about my face, he thought that I was smiling at the time. Like I was egging him on. No, I saw an extreme amount of anger in somebody that I always see as very calm. He's a very calm individual, very genuinely happy guy. He has a good life. And I made him feel as though it got screwed up, or that it was somehow in danger. Legitimate reason for somebody to be angry and upset, and trying to find the reason, the cause, and to neutralize that and to get that out of the way. He later said he wanted to kill me for it. I would beat you to death, is what he said. I didn't believe it. Still don't. I don't think he's got that in him. I don't think he's that sour or bitter at the world. I really believe it's not true. But I offered my face to him. He punched me here, 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 and here. 4 solid blows from a very stocky and muscular man. I didn't have any bruises the next day because I'm awesome like that. Anyway, he actually fixed my nose. My nose used to be crooked. Now it's fixed. My little brother pushed it out of whack. He pushed it into whack. Anyway. So it's good and bad to the whole situation in all aspects of it. I've just been through a lot. Yeah, made the mistake of calling that stranger that I mentioned earlier, the woman, duplicitous woman, asking her for help in diplomacy because she was fairly good at that. She is fairly intelligent, and she knew a little bit about me from the previous week. She was the person that I'd interacted with. I considered her a girlfriend for a while, my partner in life, okay? I still may. I'm an idiot. Maybe I'm still in love. I don't know. I don't know if it's right to be in love with someone like that. Especially if I can't apparently take abuse like that. And this stuff keeps happening to me. And I've changed my behavior many times. And it doesn't change that people want someone to blame. Whether or not it's actually my fault, I end up getting blamed for it sometimes. So when I called her about the diplomacy of the situation after my uncle had punched me a few times, I had to back up because he was not making sense. not letting me go to bed. He wanted to talk it out. He's trying to talk it out, but I can't. I don't have anger in me that comes out in the middle of a fight. I don't have normal aggression like people do. I love everybody. That's the central column of my mind, is that I love you all. And I wish the best on humanity, because if we don't work together, we're going to fall. I'm going to fall hard. All these things, climate change, social pressures, fucking war. Why do we have war? I don't get it. Why would you hurt someone that you... It's your same species. Like, why would you do that? Why would... Oh my God. That's unnatural. So, being assumed as if I'm the opposite of what I am, it's just hurtful. And I've proved it again and again that I'm not lying about that. Haven't convinced myself of something untrue about myself. No, I believe it. I act on it daily, and it hasn't changed since I was a kid. I was encouraged as a child. I had a good childhood. I was raised right. And I took that into my hands now that I'm supposedly grown up, to continue that training, to continue encouraging my inner constitution of heart and what I genetically am built to do, to let that come forth. It's always been a good thing. That's why I'm a guitarist. My dad was a music teacher. He's also a martial artist. I'm very good at martial arts. The end result of training in martial arts is to learn to never have to use it. Peace. It's the end result. You can de-escalate people by speaking to them right way. I'm still not the best at that, obviously. Shut down. I can't talk when somebody is in my face telling me stuff that's part true, part untrue, in anger. And I can't deal with someone who loves me being actually in anger at me as I am an alien, as if they don't know me. Because to me, that's schizophrenic. It's funny that I was diagnosed schizophrenic. Strictly speaking, I don't have multiple personalities. And that, I know that's a different diagnosis, but yeah, the only reason they said I had schizophrenia is because of bizarre behavior, which is part of the diagnosis for schizophrenia, is having bizarre behaviors when you're in basically in a manic state. I go into basically a kind of a trance state where I'm directly connecting with my inner child, like I'm doing, just having fun being me, basically. It's not harmful, it's just weird. You ever seen somebody walking backwards in the middle of the day in downtown street by themselves? I do that sometimes. I like being weird. I like doing weird stuff sometimes. But it's not the intent of being weird, it's just listening to my own body and letting it do what it wants to do. And there is this dialogue between my body intelligence and my mind. Because we in our technological society think that the mind is all there is. And a lot of people end up very much not letting the body, the primal side of your neurology, free. That's why people like to do sports and stuff, because then there's it's very reactive. You have to be reacting to things, and can't have time to sit and plot out beforehand. Before the game, you have your plan, and then during your game, you're doing it. And while you're doing it, you can only plan so far. The rest of it is reactive. It's your body doing what it has to do and that's an extension of the survival instinct. And that I was dealing with the merger between those two things to heal some traumas that had happened to me in my past. And while doing that process, my family thought that I was being crazy. So, if healing myself is crazy, then so be it. Sequester me from the rest of society because I am weird. I can't deal with the world and be part of that society at the same time. I can put on the face, I can be the mind, I can be regal, proper for certain amounts of time, but it's not natural. Sitting in front of the TV for hours on end, totally weird to me. Okay? It's like you're not letting your physical body do anything. That seems cruel to yourself. To me, that seems like people who watch TV like that, hours and hours and hours and hours on end, are cruel to their own physical body. Body wants to move. Body wants to do stuff. I want to get up and run right now, but I can't because I'm not done with this. And I'm telling myself that there's an importance to doing this, so body's letting me do this right now. So if it's schizophrenic to have this distinction between the physical and mental minds, I guess, so to speak, then so be it. So be it. Anyway, there's a stack of documentation where doctors had me under observation for multiple months, and up to a full year I was under observation. So when it has been observed by an impartial jury of doctors, so to speak, jury of doctors, then it's true. By the definitions of the society in which I live, I am insane. I have a mental illness. I'm not insane. I have a mental illness. There's a difference. Just like there's a difference between being insane and being crazy, but I can get into that one with Sean later in some different live stream. It's a legal distinction. But I have a mental illness. I have an illness of the spirit, and there isn't a definition for the mental illness that I have. So closest they got is bizarre behavior, schizophrenic. I'm putting that in quotations because that is the definition of the word. I'm not marginalizing their decision. Their decision is legitimate in their system, and I stand by it. Can you believe that? Okay? So I went through hell of a couple weeks. And so now, after being kicked out by my uncle, after being through that whole thing, I had stability. And then stuff happened. Maybe it's part of that shaman path of what I described of listening to my body and to my mind at the same time, that I wasn't complacent about that first situation with my previous roommates. Allowed myself to be moved by this person's charisma into living with her for a week, and ended up being emotionally beat down by her a lot. Just verbally, emotionally. And then being at my uncle's house for 2 days and having that go sour quickly in the similar way. Now I'm living with my aunt and her husband. Now I'm happy.
Oh.
Hey, you're on the live stream.
Yeah, I guess.
That's her. Just finally got to the point about you. There's nobody on this right now. I'm going to post it later. But yeah, now I've got a place to stay. It's a challenge of a different kind.
What? How to keep me off of it?
What?
How to keep me out of it?
No. The situation I'm in. I'm talking about my life.
Oh.
Yeah, so you're off screen, but you're still in. I still have a little bit to get through. Sorry, I didn't let you know that I was doing this in here, but
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Okay. Well,
You all right with that? I can stop this if you want.
No, I've got dinner getting ready to go in the oven.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yeah, I'll be out in a minute then.
Don't have to be.
Oh, really?
No. I just need to make sure my
I'll mute this.
meds are okay.
Okay.
I have to watch them because sometimes they drag too far down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got to keep up on that, I suppose. But so yeah, it's kind of a challenge of a different kind because I'm living with family that I hadn't talked to for what, 15 years, 20?
Yeah, at least.
Like something like that.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna be here until like September, I think, early September.
Are you talking to somebody?
No, I'm not actually talking to anybody. I'm talking to basically an open audience. I didn't post this publicly, so it's not actually going to be viewed by anybody right now.
Oh, kind of like writing your own life story or something.
Kind of like that, almost.
Okay.
It's like one of those things. Like you've probably seen that on a movie once, right? Where somebody's doing a blog or a video thing about their life, saying how their life is at the time.
Oh.
They have that in videos. It's a plot point. But this is kind of an update to the people that actually do care. The online people that aren't around me that often. Somebody in Canada in particular that's going to see this. Good friends of mine. Yeah, it's just different side of my family that I haven't hung out with that terribly much. So tapping into another side of myself, really.
Okay.
The pattern of speech and all that kind of thing. You know, I haven't even lived with mom and dad since like Panama. That was 2017. That was for a month and a half or so. No, that was 3 months. I keep forgetting that Panama was longer than I thought. Even then, you know, Dad doesn't talk that much, honestly. He prefers not to talk. Although he was a salesman and used to talk a lot, he prefers to be stoic. I prefer to be stoic. Anyway, yeah, I just explained the whole situation, how it went down. I've spent almost an hour now talking about the past 3 weeks up until this point, and I just got to this point about living here with you guys as you walked in.
Okay, I'll let you get back to it.
If you like.
Sure should be up.
Yeah.
Burritos, steak.
Okay.
Steak fries and sweet potato fries.
Awesome. Well, feel free to stay if you like. I mean, I've got all this. You can hear it if you want.
No.
You sure? I need to rush you
I'm
out.
living with you. I know it now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, so 2 months here, and then I moved to more permanent housing. I have services through the county offices, which are a blessing at this point. I have a therapist, social worker, physician, prescriber, lots of groups that I could go to, good stuff. But at this point, so much has gone on that I need to meditate. I need time to actually clear it, process it, so I can be at like 100%. I'm at like 60% of my full mental capacity right now. If you took an IQ test right now, it would be 60% of what I know I'm capable of. I've never taken an IQ test. So that I need to adequately be able to deal with the future, the immediate future after I get to solid housing and stuff, because I've got a lot going on. I am making waves and I am doing well. But I'm just overwhelmed and overstimulated. The RV I'm camping in on my aunt's property is a bit of a noisy neighborhood. It's the middle of summer and people are having parties and stuff. You can't really fully get deep sleep. It's a small environment, and the camper, the carpet needs cleaned. I need to clean it, honestly. But I can cope for now. Waiting on a large order of chainmail rings to arrive that I just spent my last $100 on. Thank you, Roken. Amounts for 200 hours of work making chainmail. But chainmail is one of two ways that I have right now that are practices that I do to cope. One of them is chainmail. The other one is guitar. I can also do stuff on the computer, but that's really more stressful than relaxing. Unless I'm, doing something relaxing on the computer, which is very rare. I don't game. I don't play games. I don't play video games at all. Prefer a board game, honestly. But I don't really have an environment in which I can fully be destimulated from what I'm dealing with right now. I keep accumulating my day, and I just dump my day. This whole stream is subversively kind of a bit of a coping method because I just took an hour and told you the whole last 3 weeks of my life. 5 weeks, because I've been here for 2 weeks now at my aunt's place, and I just described to you in the first half hour of this, 45 minutes rather, is the past 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks of this whole episode, let's call it 2.5 weeks. God damn, I gotta get my timing scale right. Anyway, I'm biting my lip. Got dry skin. Anyway. So yeah, on the side, like that's all of it. That is all my past 5 weeks of living here. Living here has been great. Got to do some work, working on backyard. Did some weed eating. It was nice, fun first couple days. Did some weed eating for my uncle. Gas powered freaking weed eater is kind of badass, honestly. And hanging out, watching TV, a lot of it, and reading books. My aunt's a Wiccan, so she's got a lot of cool books. Oddly enough, the largest collection of books she has is Bibles, which I don't think is odd at all because it relates. All of the religions like interrelate in some way or another. So I'm just stressed. I'm tired, overstimulated from the past, and I'm probably really in need of some sensory deprivation, just two. And for a little while, full silence, full darkness, and I can just let my monkey mind finally fully chill out like it needs to. Building up toxins in my hands. I can feel my hands getting a little more solid. I haven't been eating right. I've been eating a lot, which is nice, but I haven't been eating the stuff that I need to eat. Too much carbs, basically. And next month will be better. I'll get a lot of my own food for myself. I think that's it. I put up a GoFundMe today, which this video is going to be posted to, kind of doing it as a side thing, because the thing that I want that GoFundMe to accomplish is I want to be able to afford sensory deprivation tank or pool. It's called floating. Easier name to pronounce than sensory deprivation pool. Costs like $45 per 1 hour session at this place called Easy Float. It's 20 miles from me. And I would be doing that for the very first time. If you want to donate to that, it's cool. It's whatever. No rush on that. It's not that expensive either. I could probably pay for it myself. But if we get a little bit of help with that, then that means that I've got a little bit of margin towards a deposit for the next place that I live. So hoping for a little bit of help that way. Just hoping. Don't have to. The main point, my main message is the message of this video, which is showing you what I'm looking like, what I'm feeling like, how my eye contact is, my body language. Regardless of the words that I've said this entire hour and 5 minutes, 10 seconds, what has my body language been like? How have I been posturing? How's my posture? How's my hand gestures? Do I look tense? Do I look relaxed? I posted this to a mental illness group on Facebook, So what do you see? And what do you hear? Everything that I just told you about I may have gotten the time scale wrong because I'm terrible with numbers, but that was 5 weeks ago. No, 4 weeks ago. God damn, I still got to get that right. What time is it? What day is it? It's the end of July, so that started happening at the beginning of July. So that's 4 weeks ago. Okay, so that's 4 weeks ago, the beginning of July, which I believe I mentioned at the beginning of the story, honestly. So that doesn't even matter that I'm re-explaining this to you. See, these are my problems. I'm getting a little bit stressed here at the end of the thing, so I'm messing up numbers and I'm messing up the order of things. But everything that I told you is the patent truth. From my experience, that was my perspective of what happened. And I try and keep my own opinion out of it by saying that I can be wrong. And while I'm describing it, I'm also giving room for forgiveness of the people that caused harm or caused discomfort, suffering to me at the time. Because I love them and I care about them and I care about humankind, like I said. I feel like everybody has that in them to care about everybody else. It seems like fairly obvious. Like you want the best for yourself, obviously. But once you take care of that, which is fairly easy, food, water, air, stimulation, having a few people around. Environment is key, and that this environment that I'm in right now is pretty ideal considering what I just went through, to be able to recover from all that BS that I just went through. So basically, if you want to toss me $1, I don't give a crap if you do or not, for the floating thing for sensory deprivation. Regardless of if I get that GoFundMe filled or not, I'm going to go and do it next month. And I will post a before and after video probably on this channel, so that you can see the difference in me and see the way that I look, the way I talk, my physical demeanor and micro expressions, things like that, before and after the sensory deprivation hour, the hour in the pool. So anyway, hopefully that will happen sooner than later. But yeah, that's it. It's me right now. It was my little brother's birthday yesterday. And wasn't able to see him at all because he lives on the coast. It's not anybody's fault that I wasn't able to see him because he lives so far away. Except for the only you can blame the fact that I'm not rich and I can't just take a plane down there. I'm not rich yet. Okay. Not financially flush. Okay, got enough good ideas that I know. I know where this is headed. I'm 30 years old, and I know that, given my genetic makeup and my background, that I can live to be upwards of 100 years old. Probably 120 or more than that, physically. Some people are wanting to be immortal. I question if they could actually handle being alive continuously for that long and being sober. Imagine going to that AA meeting. Hi, I've been sober for the last 100 years. What can you say? Like, it's fighting words. So, still nobody here. Good thing this is an unlisted video. So, yeah, that was it. Anyway, I hope y'all are okay. As far as the basics go, I've got housing, I've got food, I've got water, got my mental health coping techniques and stuff that I can do every day, and I'm getting adequate rest. Although I'm sleeping in a fairly small bed in an RV, which is kind of uncomfortable. But I've got internet, so that's the main thing. Using my aunt's computer right now, obviously, to do this, but whatever is going on in your life, it's temporary. Everything is not permanent. Not even the universe is permanent. And if you can travel in time, well, nothing is in existence forever. And if you can sit there and sit in one moment, like you're moving, physically, like from beginning to end, and be able to sit there, right there, like the perfect moment where you wanted to be, can't stay there forever either. You're gonna get bored, and you're gonna want to move on. You're gonna have to give honor to the fact that everything dies. Everything on this level of existence, this plane of existence, it doesn't last. That's why humankind can still evolve. So, hope for the future. Hope for the future of mankind. Hope for the future of your own soul. Evolve into something that is immortal. Take some serious willpower. And I don't mean Will Ferrell power. I mean, will it to be. And it shall be. Do you want to be immortal? I'm not sure many of us would. But it's a possibility. There are whole hordes of souls that actually are immortal, in my belief. There are gods. People at the avatar state of enlightenment within their own mind that exited realms like this and became immortal and unending and infinite. That's still not the God of the Bible, but that is being on a higher level of consciousness where you are immortal. You are unending. If you want to become mortal, you can. Just like the Greek myths, too. If you wanted to become mortal and become half-human, you can do that, too. But right now, this life where I am, I'm probably where I want to be. Just asking for a little help because within the structure of where I'm at right now at this particular moment, I kind of wanted to express all that. Makes the rest of it manageable. The fact that I took a whole hour to just tell you everything, what was going on with the past couple of months. And that was light. That was an hour, and that was not even getting into all the detail of everything that actually, all the day in and day out kind of stuff. That's why I have that website, selfauthoring.com. Go check it out. Because it's kind of going to be important for me in the next couple of days because I'm waiting on a chainmail to come in. And I need something to do, honestly. I can't work. If I get overly stressed about it, then I'm going to fail at that job. Been proven again and again. My life. Actually, something broken in my brain, too. It's partly the thing about the stress and the talking is because can't talk when certain parts of my brain get over tense. I think it's the language centers of my brain because they got overworked at one point. At this point, I'm rambling. There's nobody else here. So I'm tempted to just end the stream where I'm at and say I love y'all. Hope you're all well. And namaste. We are all one. We are all one from one center, from the origin of creation itself. I'm not even going to say universe because the universe is a modular part of creation. It's a huger thing going on here. And Ubuntu. We're all from the same source. We are all one. We are iterations of the same energy, different forms. I am you, you are me, just in different times. From different, times, and the same energy has been expressed different ways. That little bit of immortality that gives us that full consciousness, the memories that we have. We are part of the universe, so together, as one, working together, Ubuntu. If one of us fail, we all fail. So I try and help as many people as possible and see to it daily. Check up on a lot of people daily. Because it's not because of worry, it's just, seeing where we're at in the path. Like, okay, what's the challenges for today? Have you ever heard Bob Marley? There's a song by Bob Marley called Exodus. That's what it's making me think of. Movement of the people, Exodus. Many people will fight it down, tell me why. When you see that light, let me tell you, if you're the one, then why? Everything is alright. So we're gonna rock, alright, to the roads of creation. Either generation, tell me why. Tried through great tribulations, tried through great tribulations. We're gonna walk through the roads of creation. Either generation, tried through great tribulations. On that point, I'll see you later, because this has gone hour and 17 minutes. So now I got to do something else. Bye.